Hello and happy Thursday. Come on, Patch. It is sunny, yay! That's great news. Welcome to Scotland on this beautiful Thursday morning, and Patch and I would like to share with you a recent topic that's been coming up in part in shadow work, and also some of your questions and comments and shares. And I'd like to talk about lack. So this shadow, this fear of lack. We could start with some of the metaphysical topics around it. So I have past life memories. In fact, this also came up in a reading a few years ago, where I was in Lemuria, and I had, like, my parents left me around 16, 17, and it pushed me into, I think what I was doing was like constantly trying to find them, and I always felt like I didn't have enough food, water, love, and the very heart of all this, self-love. You know, that fear of abandonment can trigger within me this feeling of fear and lack. And that fear and lack is less about what's going on outside of us and more like what's going on inside. And what I would say is, let's wait for these cars to decide which way they're going. What I would say is that some of those patterns continue into this life, and it includes the feeling of lack. In fact, my parents did divorce when I was about 15 or 16, and you know that felt like a pattern, somewhat intentionally by my soul, to come into a lifetime where that would be experienced again. And I remember those years well, and it was also the time I met my wife, and it was, how to describe it, not obvious to me consciously the effect that it had on me. You know, I was really just focused on getting ready to finish school, go to university, leave home, and I had a new girlfriend, my now wife. So yeah, these were things that I was more focused on. How it affects me today? Well, just before I left my corporate job in May last year, so 10 months ago, it was the end of May, so just under 10 months ago, I was in this mindset of like, I just wanted to, leave my corporate job and get on with my mission to help raise vibes and balance darkness and light and help people with their awakenings. If you can hear in the background, there's I think it's a buzzard, which is like an eagle that we get here in Scotland. We do have eagles, but not so much here in Dunbar. At least I've not seen any. And they're beautiful birds. They're amazing to see. So the journey that I had to leave my corporate job was really just this fear of like, would I have enough money to survive on? And enough money to support my family. And of course you don't know it until you do it, right? You don't, and it's so easy to just logically say to yourself, well, it's something I've never done before professionally. I've never been a psychic quantum healer before, other than as a hobby. I didn't know what the workload would be like, or how much I could charge, what the taxes would be like, what my costs would be, just the ideas and the sense of knowing how to do it as a hobby. And as context, for years before I went full-time, I was doing 2 sessions a week in the evenings after my full-time and later part-time job at Amazon. And just being able to pay the costs of things like websites and MailChimp for my weekly newsletter and all these things. How it manifests today, so that journey, the reason I share all this is because I felt like something was delaying me from leaving Amazon, and I just wanted to leave it. I just wanted to I'm ready now, I made the decision, and this is about January just last year, so just over a year ago. And my guides were saying, no, John, you've got to prepare your ship first. And they kept showing me this ship, and they were saying outside is a storm. So when your ship goes to sea, you need to make sure you're prepared as possible. And I was just like, I didn't really get it. I honestly thought they meant that it was, a crazy, chaotic world, which it is, but it always is. But what I didn't realize until a few weeks in, maybe in the first 2 or 3 months, so into the summer of last year, that the reason I was waiting was because the universe was helping me practice, with help from my guides, develop practices about better self-care, improving my self-love, and not just ending up in a situation where I burnt myself out. And the kind of the negative cycle, the anti-pattern that I was most at risk of was, and this is all linked, so all these steps are linked, right? So it starts with lack of self-love. And then when you don't love yourself enough, you don't take care of yourself, because you don't often take care of things you don't love, especially yourself. And then if you don't take good care of yourself, your energy is low. And I mean that by just the energy to do things in a day. Yay, there's a feather. Can we catch on camera? There it is there. It's always a sign, guys. Thank you for the sign. Thank you for the feather. Random feather. No obvious birds around. Well, there's a red robin behind it, but not that one. Not with all white feather. And there's a beautiful crescent moon up there as well. So lack of self-love, lack of self-care results in low energy, but also low vibration. So it's, they're often quite linked, right? When you feel tired, your vibration often drops. Hello, Robin. And then you create content, and it can be anything, right? At the time I was creating training courses, videos, music, meditations, all the things that John does. And so when you're in a low energy, low vibration, you create low energy, low vibration content, in every meaning of the word. And then everything, you become so easy to trigger, right? So when I first would look at my how much money I'd made, I was looking each day, right? Every day. And in fact, that only stopped a couple of months ago. And it's quite shocking, right? I never did that in my salary job. I never looked like, oh, it's a new month, I know I get paid exactly the same amount every month and have done for years, but how much money did I earn today? Will I be able to pay my family? Will I survive? That is a burden, John. Why did you do that? And one of the reasons I did it was because it was on my little Wix website dashboard. So there's a whole dashboard back end that you guys don't see, just I see. And it was telling me my daily amount, so how much I was earning. And so of course the number goes up and down, but even worse, it would tell me that when there was a difference to the previous day or previous month. And so, often it would say things like, you earned £50 today. And then it would say, oh, that's 150% down based on this time last month. And you're like, oh my God, that's terrible. And so it created this like roller coaster. And remember what I was saying earlier about, you know, just feeling uncertain about whether I was going to earn enough money or not. And then to have that experience, you know, where there's this constant visual reminder, like it was in my web browser startup. And of course I was looking at it whenever I made changes to my website or developed courses. So it was like, yeah, it was all of the above, and really compounded that experience. But luckily, what I had learned was I'd started to learn some techniques, excuse me for picking up Patch's present to the universe. Yeah, what I had been learning was at the very least, like these principles of, hey John, did you know that, you know, you can't silo energy, you can't silo, you know, your business from your own energy, because you are your business. And so you can't be tired and drained and then turn up in a video and go, hey everybody, I'm amazing, I feel amazing, especially to clients like you guys who are interested in practicing or already highly gifted psychically and empathetically. Like, you feel my energy, you'll feel it now, right? And so there was definitely a few months last year where it was, you know, it was exhausting, but without having the custom. And so I would do things like, by that I mean the bookings. And so in those months, I remember like working till like the early hours of the morning, you know, overnight, like creating website content and updating stuff and just creating for the sake of it, because it helped fill the void inside of me, this lack of self-love and self-care. And little did I know that it's so important to just, you know, go to bed at night. And when you don't have bookings, what I started to learn is, when you don't have bookings, take a break, right? Because the problem is not the lack of demand for services like mine. It's more the opposite. It's more, can I keep myself feeling happy, healthy, energized, have a good work-life balance, and be able to, you know, receive the right amount of bookings and training course participants and meditation purchases and whatever you guys are so lovingly and supportively providing me with as an income. Patch has found a sniff. Here we go. This could take some time, but it's a beautiful place to stop. I've lived in this area, I think, for about 15 years, or certainly like walked around this area. And I remember these trees were much smaller 15 years ago. Really beautiful. There's one coming up that's got a beautiful blossom. Okay, Patch, come on then. He's had a good sniff. And then the next thing that happened, so I felt, I just realized all this last October and I just figured it all out. And then I went into November and went on Linda's show, and then I'm still working through those bookings now, since you very kindly booked me in November. And today is, I think, the last day that I work like either quite long hours / late. So I think I finished today at 8:30. Yeah, I think it'll be 8:30. Which is already a lot better than it's been in other days. And so yeah, it was almost like the universe saying, okay John, you think you figured it out. You think you've managed to get your work-life balance and these ideas, but now experience it, now live it. And it's kind of like the really fascinating thing about the fear in general, and then the fear of lack, is when you're scared of doing something, you do the opposite of being scared of it, which is to do it, right? Do the thing that you're scared of, and know that the fear itself is greater than the fear. What did I say? Try that again. That the fear energy is much greater than the actual, risk, danger, pain that you experience when you actually do the thing. So these things are always much easier than we'd realize. And I had a really lovely monthly chat yesterday with my accountant. So we review things like my profit and loss for the month, for the year to date. So this is since I first started in May 30th, 2024, as a business. And then we were talking about things like costs, because my costs have been about £1,000 a month across website fees, MailChimp, podcast, a small budget for IT supplies, domain names, Canva. There's a few other apps I use. Like it all adds up. But I did learn that you can get Wix at like multi-year investments, which is fantastic. So if you just pay for multiple year subscription, come on, bitch. Then the good thing is you can save a lot of money. I think I saved you pay like a third of the cost, which is fantastic. So those costs will come down a bit, certainly over the next couple of years. So to say, the costs have already come down and will be down for the next couple of years, at least to my next renewal. But yeah, we were having a really good review, and I was just looking at what my company brought in for the year, and I must admit, I was quite astounded, upon reflection, just feeling really blessed, like it is absolutely a sustainable income. Even if I did tell you the numbers, they would be in pound sterling, and it's quite difficult to translate these to, what it's like living in other countries. For example, if I told you a number, I know from US salaries that are much higher than they are in the UK, and our cost of living is much higher in the UK, that it would be more difficult to translate. And then equally, if I told you the dollars equivalent, it'd be like, oh, but what does that really mean in the UK? Good question. And yeah, we'll see in time whether I share any numbers, but I don't think they're very helpful. I think it causes, some people might look at it and go, oh God, you work so hard and that's all you earn, and other people might go, oh my God, that's amazing, well done. And then feel, jealous or wanting to do it for the money. Everyone's different, right? And everyone gets... I also feel like some things are good to keep private, even though I share a lot and talk a lot. Some things are best kept private. Anywho, the feeling that came out of it was, my review of my accountant was, I was just feeling like, I asked myself after the call, I said, John, is this enough? Like, when is enough enough? And I just said to myself, this is enough. This is more than I expected to have earned. And that it's absolutely sustainable. So I should stop behaving like, I'm going to run out of money and that I need to somehow be hyper productive to be able to, as a, what would you call it? Is there not a word for or a term for a fear-based, it's a shadow, right? But it's like a shadow behavior. I don't think there is really a term, but it's a way of plugging that gap of lack and just saying to yourself, I'll just keep creating, I'll keep working really hard, I'll work extra hours, and then I'll feel happier. In part, it's also just because when you're working, you don't really think about lack, because you just think, well, I'm working right now, so I can't do any more than right now because I'm working right now. So it kind of gives you a break from the fear, but at the same time, you're not dealing with it, right? So that was definitely a lesson for me. And what else would I say? So I also saw this post today from Holly on LinkedIn, and she was talking about how, you know, you're running your business on borrowed energy, I think it was called, and I thought that was quite fascinating, because in very simple terms, when you're tired and exhausted, your business suffers, and when you burn yourself out and when you don't have the right balance, your business suffers. It's like really, really simple. So that was definitely, I just love the simplicity of the message. And then she had some ideas like prioritize your to-do list, you know, have a good work-life balance, have boundaries as well. I think there were the 3 tips. And I do feel like there's a lot more to share about that, but I felt like it was a great topic to raise as well. And I did do a podcast with Holly several weeks ago, and so when she publishes that, I'll share that as well. It was a lot of fun, and I remember it was a really beautiful meditation that we did during the podcast. And then, yeah, some of you have also been talking about fear of lack. And so some of my tips for fear of lack about money in particular are, and it might sound a bit counterintuitive, because that's how you counter fear, right? Is doing the opposite of it. So if you're scared of not having enough money, then anything that you can do to help you feel abundant, because remember, the amount of money does not make you abundant. It doesn't matter if you have no dollars, $1, $100,000, $1 million in your account. Despite what you might think, you may still feel lack of financial abundance. And this is because there is no number that can create a feeling. The amount of money is just an abstract, right? And so it's missing this connection with you, which is, well, what does it actually mean to me? And sure, you can argue, well, $1 million, I could at least just live for a few years and be worried about it, but I wouldn't have to worry so much about where the next penny's coming from. But you can also develop feelings of insecurity. You might even feel with such a large number that you're a target for others to rob you or to take the money. You might worry about spiraling costs. You might worry about the financial institutions crumbling and taking all your money. If it exists, if you can think it, you can fear it, right? So one trick I would do is one hack with lack, hacks for lack. Well, that'd be a great video title. Life hacks for lack, fear of lack. Yeah, one of them is to spend money, right? So you do it consciously, consciously, but you're really mindful of it. So one thing I used to do, and it was so ironic, so I was working full-time or part-time at Amazon. I was working really hard, long hours, and earning a lot of money, and arguably some of the greatest abundance I've ever had in my life, but I did not feel abundant. I felt like I was going to lose my job. I felt like it was never enough, that I wasn't enough, and the list goes on, right? So the trick I would do is I would just I would buy once a month. I would buy a session from someone, and most of these are public on my YouTube channel. So I'd just be like, well, this is great, so I can just share these publicly, and that's some content and some views to share with others. I'm supporting the practitioner. I'd always ask them, if I could share it publicly. And I also really enjoyed when I spent something, it was almost like, oh, this is good. I can look forward to it. More than a retail high, it felt like this is something that's likely going to be life-changing, and it's something for me to look forward to. And when it happens, it'll be really fascinating to see how I change my life, like what actions I take as a result of it, like what things I learn and what comes through. And quite often it would be booked a couple of months in advance, depending on the practitioner. And once that was done, I would just go on and book another. And I really felt that was a great way of both supporting people often that are quite new into the business, right? And if you have the money to book a session with them, I do it, right? And you don't just need to book sessions with me, you can book them with other people, especially any of my students or people in general that you resonate with in your heart. Don't do it just because I'm busy, right? Pick people because they resonate with your heart. So that's one thing. The other thing is, watch out for the money leaks. So I had been paying, I think it's like 11, there's a Robin again. I've been paying something like £11, whatever that is in dollars, like $14, $15 a month for an Amazon Audible account for years, which it was in the US. I didn't even have access to it, and I was just wasting money. That was a brilliant money leak. Come on then, Patch. And then there was other things like, my son had signed up for Audible, I think, and we were agreed to pay to start with, but then the subscription continued. I think that went on for a couple of years. There's just like a whole range of different subscriptions, and so one tip is, you can go through your bank account obviously and check all the things that are coming out in a month, and then I also, because I have an Android phone, I look at the Google Play Store, the App Store, like I check through it for any subscriptions that go out. And you can do things like simple things like cancel. If you're not sure about it, cancel it, right? So I would also do this thing with YouTube, where I would have YouTube Premium, which is quite a lot of money. It's about £15-16, so there's no ads, because I watch a lot of YouTube on my phone. And then what I'd do is I'd just sign up for it for like 3 months, and then I would pause it after another 3 months. So I'd have like 3 months on, 3 months off, and I was really just testing myself to say, well, do I really need it? Like, is it really worth that amount of money to me? I also discovered from a business perspective that there's a lot of services that allow you to pause for, a week or like 2 weeks or whatever, and that can just be really powerful, because when you do that, when you pause it, you're not paying, right? So I also found with Buzzsprout I use for you can fetch, come on. For Buzzsprout I use this podcasting. It's like a podcasting augmentation system, distribution. So it distributes all of the podcasts to Spotify and all that kind of stuff. You can also reduce it, reduce the number of hours of podcasts that you create in a month down to really small amounts. So I think it goes from like $29 a month to like $5 a month. And the monthly ones, as I was saying to my accountant, it's always the monthly charges that get you, right? So keep a good eye out for those. I think it's a really good idea to be conscious about everything that goes out of your account in a month. And when you behave like that, it's not, going back to theme of lack, it's not the lack that you're worried about, right? It's not running out of money you're worried about. It's what you're saying to yourself and you're saying to the universe is, I care about every penny, every cent, every pound, every dollar. Like I care about every single amount of money. I am abundant in money, and I'm also abundant because I care about it deeply. The other things I would do is I was absolutely addicted to shopping on Amazon, and having worked for them, it always seemed like quite ironic. But I felt in some way I was helping my job security by spending quite a lot of my salary on Amazon purchases. And one thing I do now is, if I want something, I just put it in the basket, and then I leave it overnight at least, and then the next day I'll decide whether I want it. And it's quite funny because a lot of the time now, when I really need something, I'm going to buy it, I go into my Amazon basket and I'm like, oh, isn't that fascinating? There's all this random stuff in there. I can't even remember what was there last, like a kayak, and I really love a kayak. It'd be a lot of fun to go. I'm a big creature of the sea. I live by the sea, so that'd be a lot of fun. But yeah, there's just all these aspects of consciously spending and valuing the money you do have. And some of the other things, I mean, we also right-sized our house, sold our car, sold our holiday house, which we were letting as a business, really to help it pay for itself. Like, we sold things that were really just energy drains. You know, I would, for the car, for example, our driveway you put them one after the other. So what I found was that I was just getting out of the house, and I'd ask the family which vehicle they wanted, and then I would swap them around, like drive one out into the street and then swap them around, and that was just unnecessary hassle. It was just a waste of energy. And then I realized, oh, what am I spending on, monthly insurance, the costs of road tax, and the annual MOT, the annual test for maintenance, roadworthiness. So that was really funny. And it also, my wife and I have also been talking, we talk more about the kind of usefulness of the things that we own. We talk about it a lot more. So one of the things we talk about is, we've been talking a bit about our caravan, or in the US you call like an RV trailer, the thing that has no engine that we tow in the Binnie train. It's fantastic for when we have the kids with us, but for just the two of us camping, it's overkill. I don't think we'd even bother. We just don't need that amount of space. And of all the things that we might do, is that in future we might sell the caravan, and then we would buy a little car, maybe even an electric car, and charge it with our solar panels. And that we're getting in May, which looking forward to that in our home. So yeah, I think also looking at the longer term is a really great way of thinking about lack, because you once you figure out how much money you really need to live off, and once you've figured out all the things that you consciously really want in your life, every single penny, right? Including some of those snack habits that I have. I think it really helps with just facing those fears of lack, and then spending money and going through periods of not spending money in a positive way. Book in some time in your calendar and say, I'm not spending money on that day. Or the opposite, say I am spending money. It's like, spend whatever I want day. These are great ways of flexing and facing those fears. Okay, well, yay, look at, caught the sunshine in my head. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you're doing well. Let me know if you have any experiences with lack and how you tackle it. Okay, sending love.